Planning this wedding has made me realize that I have made some poor choices in my life. Because please explain to me why there's a photographer charging $22,000 for wedding photos. What kind of crack we smoking? Because you gotta be on some crack to be charging these prices. Like, did I miss something? What do these photos do? I mean, do they reenact the entire wedding day? Am I crazy or is this normal? Like, I ain't never really planned like a full wedding before, but $22,000? I know I'm no longer living in the projects. I know I done come up in the world, but I ain't come up $22,000 for a wedding on some photos. Like, I am really questioning all my life decisions at this point. I should have been a photographer. Like, obviously, I'm making poor choices in life. Because 22,000.
I used to understand why people would get their feelings hurt when they weren't invited to weddings. And I'm a 2027 bride. And as I've been looking at venues, it's just kind of like, now I understand why people have like Airbnb weddings that can host maybe 50 people max. Or when people have backyard weddings. Or like have a wedding at a church and then go to the club after for the reception. Because as I've been looking at venues, it's like, okay, the venue might be, affordable, like $3,000, but then you got the bar for 50 per person, and then you got the food for 65 per person. And if y'all have big families, like that's up there. So the next time you see like, oh, you're not invited to somebody's wedding because maybe they wanted to keep it small, maybe they wanted to keep it intimate to people that they might have talked to in the last 6 months, opposed to just family, like just because they're family, remind yourself that you're not paying the $20,000-$30,000. Because I don't know about you, but elopement, courthouse wedding is sounding pretty nice right now.
Oh yeah, having a wedding is not a game. It can be very expensive. It adds up. So I see why some people are going down to that courthouse and getting married, man. Look at this next clip though. It gets worse.
How are people affording a wedding nowadays? Like, I've been engaged for 6 years and now I'm like, okay, it's finally time to take the plunge to plan it. We've toured Napa. Now we're in San Diego touring venues. And every time they say the price of the venue, I gasp out loud. Are you joking me? $42,000 for 12 hours? Somewhere, and you're gonna kick me out at 10 p.m. I'm not understanding this. Like, then I get into the spiral of looking at like what would going to Europe, how much would that cost would look like. I could spend a fraction of that and have the most amazing European vacation. And then I'm talking to a wedding planner in Europe, and then a European wedding planner is like, you need $80,000 to $90,000 for 30 people to have a wedding in Europe. I'm like, excuse me, ma'am? What? How are people doing that? How are people doing this?
I'm about to make every bride on this app hate me. Your $33K wedding costs you $1 million. That's why your budget wedding is the dumbest financial decision you'll ever make. The average wedding is $33,000. You rent a venue, feed people chicken, and wear a dress once, and it's gone by Sunday. Put that same modest $33K into the S&P 500 instead. That's over $1 million by retirement. Your wedding didn't cost you $33,000. It cost you $1 million. Marry the person. Skip the party. The marriage builds wealth. The wedding burns it. Tell me I'm wrong.
How are people rationalizing spending 35 grand on one day, aka your wedding? I don't understand. Can I not do this for like 5 grand and still be classy and chic? I guess not. If you live in Missouri, specifically St. Louis, and you have any recommendations on cute, not barn-style wedding venues that don't cost an arm and a leg, comment down below, please. Because everywhere costs at least 10 grand. It's insane.
I know my sister. Don't let it stress you out.
Minimum for your Friday, it's $20,000 food and beverage minimum. Okay. And then plus your venue rental, plus your labor, plus your linen, plus your equipment, plus a 22% service fee and a 9% sales tax for 2026. So 2027 pricing goes up. And there's a higher service.
There's pricing goes up in 2027.
Yes. Pricing
does it just go up every year? Just for fun?
So
just goes up more every year. Get married down with people.
When people say planning a wedding is ridiculously expensive, but then they don't follow up with why or how, let me tell you. I interviewed almost 10 planners in both New York and Florida, and I reached out to planners with like 2,000, 3,000 followers on Instagram. I was not reaching out to crazy high-end luxury planners. Do they do beautiful weddings and do they have wonderful taste? Yes, of course. And I was told by almost everyone that I should expect to pay $175,000 minimum for my wedding. Minimum. Just for the wedding. Like 4 hours, right? Ceremony, reception, half of an after party. $175,000. That's a house. That's a down payment on a gorgeous home. What the hell, you guys? And we're not doing anything crazy for our wedding. We'd like 100 people in a beautiful venue, not a ballroom. This is some of our inspo. And I was told to spend $175,000 minimum. Don't believe everything you see. I think so many more people are dipping into savings and going into debt for their elaborate over-the-top weddings that you see on social media. So I'm here to tell you what it's really like when you start getting these numbers back. So anyways, I'll keep y'all posted, but just wanted to share that.
Los Angeles-based wedding planner here. Planning a wedding is expensive. And I know that that upsets a lot of people, but I am just here to tell you that your wedding doesn't have to be super expensive. It's really what you're asking for. You can have a wedding for just you and your fiance, right? Like you can go to the courthouse, get married. You can go to a restaurant and have dinner for 10, right? And that can cost whatever you want it to cost. You can go to somewhere simple. You can go to a mom and pop restaurant, or you can go to a very expensive place where it's a couple $1,000s to rent a private room. Context is everything. New York is an expensive place. Also Florida, depending on the city, like if you're looking at Miami or something, you are looking at expensive places to get married. 100 people is a great first step because it's not like a crazy amount of people, right? Like that's good. Fewer people means you're going to keep your costs lower, but unfortunately things do cost more today than they did even a couple of years ago in terms of weddings. And that's because the cost of everything has gone up. The cost of living has gone up. And I get on here and I explain this multiple times, but like your rental company is paying for fuel, right? And gas prices have gone up. You know, labor, the cost of labor has gone up. If you want to keep good people working for you consistently, and you want your rental company employees to show up, because guess what? On your wedding day, they need to deliver your rentals. So your rental company can't have a bunch of randoms working for them who might not show up, who might not bring your tables and chairs, right? So they have to keep their employees happy and they have to pay them. And all of these costs, you know, the cost of food going up, the cost of flowers going up, our economy, like that trickles down. And we can clearly understand that in so many ways, in terms of like people not going out to eat as much, or, you know, the cost of the movies being more expensive, the cost of travel being more expensive. But for some reason, we do not let it go to our heads about like the cost of weddings. So if you want a 100-person party where you are serving food and alcohol to people, then that's going to be expensive. And as a wedding planner, I do take a little bit of an issue with you saying like, okay, I only contacted some planners with 2,000 or 3,000 followers, so like as if they shouldn't be that expensive. There is no correlation between wedding planners' prices and follower count. And I say this as someone who has like an iffy like follower count, but has been in business for 17 years. Plenty of my peers have like 1,000 followers and charge a ton because they've been in business for so long. So they don't need to worry about social media. They're not thinking about it. They have consistent referrals for, 2 decades, and they could be X amount of money. And there are plenty of young planners who just start out and are great at social media. who have like thousands upon thousands of followers. So I would say if you are checking for planners and sort of thinking they're going to cost a certain amount based on their follower count, that there's just no correlation. So reach out to the planners that you love and see how much they cost and see if they can work with you, because you can't really decipher based on social media how much they're going to cost unless you understand like what those weddings look like. If you are looking at weddings that are consistently in vogue, if you are looking at weddings that are happening all over the world, those planners are going to cost a decent amount of money. They're not going to be like your inexpensive entry-level planners. In terms of a wedding for 100 people costing $175,000, and you're saying, but it's not in a ballroom, I would argue that some ballrooms are cheaper because there's more included. If you want an estate wedding, you're bringing everything in, and sometimes that's more money. And also, I saw your inspiration, and it is beautiful, but it's quite luxe. And so, like, if planners are quoting you $175,000, that's like reasonable to them based on what you explained to them. So context is everything. If you showed them a bunch of picnic tables and said you wanted to get married at a park, then it would be less than $175,000. But you have good taste. You have some pretty inspiration. And so yeah, it might cost $175,000. But I don't want like you scaring all these people saying like, oh, it's going to cost XYZ if you want this simple thing, because what you're presenting is not this simple thing.
A wise man said love don't cost a thing. Well, apparently he hasn't been to the U.S. and seen these wedding costs. Look at this next clip. It gets worse.
School me on wedding tipping. I need to know. We went to the wedding planner the other day and she said, you can go ahead and pre-envelope all your tips and we'll pass them out for you at the end of the night. I was like, okay. Went home and I talked to my husband and he was like, what tips? Is this not already built into the price? Because like the prices are outrageous. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, like who are we tipping? What are we tipping and how much? Like what's proper? What's the percentage? What's the amount? Is it a set amount or is it just like what you feel in your heart that night? Because I don't know. I don't know how my heart's going to be feeling after all this. And I don't know. Like I'm sure it'll be great the day of, which is probably why they want you to do it the day of. But like, what is adequate? What is appropriate? Especially if you're having to do it the day before and give it to them so they can pass it out. And what if something happens day up and you've already got that prepared? Are you tipping at all? Are we just not tipping at all because we feel as though the prices that we've paid are justified for what the services that we're getting and then some? I don't know what the etiquette is. So help me out because I don't know who to ask. And you guys always come through for me. So help me understand if we're tipping or not tipping and what the pricing is. Like, what's the percentage? It's not just a fancy pants dinner here. It's a lot of money already. So, and I know all y'all in the wedding industry are going to come at me and say, of course you're supposed to tip. But I get that. If you've had a wedding or thrown a wedding or paid for a wedding in any way, shape, or form, and you've tipped or not tipped, let me know. Because I need to be educated on this. Very much so. And I'm sure there's other people out there that are planning these weddings that are 2026, 27 brides or mother of the brides or mother of the grooms, families, and need this information. So, educate us. Drop some knowledge.
I'm Nitra and I'm a 2027 bride, and I genuinely believe you cannot have a South Asian wedding for less than 100K. And here are my reasons. Firstly, your venue is not the issue. It's the food that you're spending. The food and catering really adds up. You have 3-day event. Okay, Sangeet or whatever welcome dinner you're having, you're paying for dinner. Then if you have a haldi or whatever other ceremony having on the second day, you're paying for a lunch or a dinner. Then the third day, you're paying for either a lunch and a dinner or maybe a breakfast, whenever your wedding is and your reception is. So that really adds up. Then you're adding appetizers, add-ons, drinks, so many other things. That adds up to so much money for 200 people. If you have more people, it's even more expensive. So your food, by itself will be 50 to 70K with just 200 people. On top of that, because it's a Daisy wedding, we all love hospitality. So now you have to give breakfasts, lunches for all 3 days. So then you are now at probably like 80K with service charges. And you know what? Service charges, they're not just added on pre-tax, they're added on after taxes. So you're paying for tax and then service charge and then tax again. Like, it's really ridiculous on how much service tax is at. But yeah, so firstly, your catering costs are insane. Secondly, decor adds up. Photography adds up. As I talked about in my previous videos, it is insane the amount of money you spend on photography. 15K, gone. Photography, video, gone. Like, it is an obscene amount of money that you end up spending. So somehow, even if you want a wedding for 60 to 80K for 200 people, it just doesn't end up being that, because you end up spending double. You're probably estimating 60 to 100K. I would estimate that you will probably spend 100K for a 200-person wedding in Canada, which is insane.
She said cannot have a wedding for under 100K. Cannot is a strong word.
This is a very real conversation, so please do not feel like you need to participate, and just, if you want to listen, listen. I'm really curious what people spend on their weddings on average. I live in Southern California, but I'm from Missouri. So when I was comparing prices, it was like a no-brainer. We're getting married in Missouri. We can get it. It's like disgustingly cheap compared to what it cost here. I have a lot of friends who are getting married out here, but I also have friends that got married out there. And it's just, the differences in prices are crazy. So I know a lot of it is location based, but on average, what did you spend on your wedding? I also feel like there's a lot of variables, like how big your wedding was, how much you wanted to put into decorations and flowers. So maybe in the comments, put where you got married and ballpark about how much you spent. And everyone be nice and not judgmental. We are here to support one another, and this is just something I'm curious about.
These are things that I'm not going to do at my wedding because I can't afford them. Part 2. I really wanted to do an elaborate floral arch. I wanted a lot of flowers, and I didn't realize how expensive florals were. I thought $3,000 was going to be enough, but it's not. I wanted something like this, and then someone quoted me $7,000. And I was like, no. The florist that I'm working with, she's awesome, and she somehow, like, figured out a way that I can somehow afford not, like, an arch like this, but, like, at least some flowers at the end of the aisle. So, shout out to my florist. You're amazing. As a bride, I think it's worth it to ask your vendors, your florist, what they can do with your budget.
I knew that wedding planning was going to be expensive, and I was expecting a lot of my vendors' pricing to be higher than what it was 10 years ago, but there was one vendor that I was absolutely shocked at the sticker price, and that would be hair and makeup. So glam. I'm not naive. I understand that you get what you pay for, and there's levels to this stuff, especially like in the industry. There are definitely tiers. I also understand inflation. I understand that the cost of everything has gone up. However, I didn't think that between the wedding that I was in 2021 and me getting married in 2027 that things would have doubled in the makeup and hair industry. So I'm coming to you guys to see if I'm being crazy or if this is just what I need to understand as the expectation moving forward for hair and makeup. I initially got a recommendation from my planner for a hair and makeup duo, and this actually was the hair and makeup people who did one of my best friend's weddings in 2020. So I've had glam done by them before. She quoted me $600 for bridal, so that would be $300 for hair, $300 for makeup, and that did not include my trial. My trial would have been a separate $100. And then she quoted me $150 for makeup and $150 for hair per bridesmaid. So that would be $300 per bridesmaid. Now, the bridal hair and makeup felt a little bit high for me, but I also was willing to pay a little bit more for myself, but I just couldn't see myself asking my bridesmaids to pay $300 for hair and makeup. Maybe I've just been really lucky, but I don't think I've ever paid over $60 for hair or makeup. So we're talking like $150 at most for both. And that would be with tip. Oh, and on top of my $600 bridal, $300 per bridesmaid plus my $100 for my trial, there was also going to be a travel fee that would be added to it after the fact. So if I went forward with this pair, that would be $2,100 to cover the cost of just my bridesmaids and my mom and mother of the groom, plus at least $700 for me, because $600 for my total glam, $100 for my hair trial, and then, I don't know, another $100 just to be safe for travel. $2,100 plus $800, you're looking at about $3,000 for just glam. If I'm way out of line and you guys are like, oh man, that's a steal, then I need to rearrange my mindset, but that just seems so crazy high. So let me know if I'm tripping. Also, let me know if you're a hairstylist or a makeup artist in Southwest Missouri who maybe can beat these rates, and I would love to talk to you.
As a 2026 bride, here are some things I did not know that you had to pay for. I did not know that you had to pay a cake cutting fee. We have to buy the cake and then we have to pay a fee to cut the cake is crazy to me. Room flip fee. One venue that we looked at, I was telling him I wanted inside only. And so I was like, oh yeah, we could just flip the room. And it was like, I just told him, and when he made the contract, he put like $750 to flip the room. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was kind of like included in that price. But no, it wasn't. It was separate to flip the room. Outside vendor fee, I thought I wanted to save some money and bring my own outside vendors, but they charge you even more to bring in an outside vendor instead of using yours. So you have to pay the outside vendor and to pay them to use your outside vendor. Crazy. Hair and makeup trial. I mean, it makes sense, but I'm like, okay, so I'm already paying you $1,000 to do my hair and makeup, but I also gotta pay you $500 to see if I like it for a trial. Like, I don't know. That's a lot of money. Alterations for your dress. Now I know that you have to pay for this, but I did not know it was this much. You mean to tell me that my dress was already very expensive? I'm basically paying for another dress. And I was like, I was better off just buying a whole nother dress instead of paying the alterations. I think my alterations for my dress cost more than my actual dress, which is crazy. Wedding insurance. I did not know we had to get wedding insurance. Like, nobody told me all this. I didn't know. Breakdown and cleanup fee. I thought once you paid for the venue and everything, I thought that was all included. But nope. Another one is like parking and valet. One venue that we looked at had valet. And so we were like, okay, once we pay this, it comes with it. No, they only stopped at 25 cars. After the 25th car, your guest will have to pay for the valet. If you didn't want your guest to pay for the valet, you have to pay for the valet. Rehearsal. One wedding venue we looked at, they charged you to have a rehearsal on any other day. Like you have to call them, schedule it, and pay for a rehearsal. And I was like, I thought that was included when you book the venue, but some places don't do that. So yeah, you just don't pay for the wedding, you pay for everything surrounding the wedding. And if you're planning a wedding, good luck because everything has a fee.
Well, if you didn't know, now you know.
Okay, I have a question, and I obviously know that people make more money than I do, and I know that people are not as broke as I am. I know that there are wealthy people out there, but all I see all over Instagram and TikTok nowadays is like normal people getting married, people that I went to school with, or people that I wouldn't even consider like super wealthy. I don't know. And they have these extravagant weddings that have to cost tens of thousands of dollars. How are people affording the weddings that they are having? Like, I genuinely don't understand it because everything is so expensive. How is everybody affording it? How? And obviously, you know, there are people out there that can truly afford it, their families can afford it, but I feel like nowadays, everybody is trying to have those types of weddings and everything is more extravagant and fancy than normal. How are people doing it? How are people truly doing it?
Let's talk about the budget for my wedding. The reason that I'm so hesitant to speak about the budget of our wedding is because I am appalled at the amount of money that we're spending on this wedding. We originally planned for our wedding budget to be $30,000. Parents were willing to help out a little bit. We were like, okay, 50 is our budget. We thought very reasonable, right? We ended up booking a venue that was significantly over budget. So from there, the venue kind of dictated what type of wedding we wanted to have. We said, oh, this venue is gorgeous. Let's have a black tie wedding or black tie encouraged, which then led to us saying, oh, well, we have to do the elevated version because it's black tie. And it became this entity of if we're having black tie on our invitations, we have to deliver, right? I'm going to walk you through the pricing for the majority of our vendors, and then we'll talk a little bit about how much I paid for all the non-vendor related things. Disclaimer, please don't judge me. I feel a lot of shame spending this much on a wedding. We do have help, My fiance and I are probably paying for about 35% of the wedding. And then the other 60 something percent is split amongst our families. Let's go through it. So, venue. Our wedding venue was $20,000. We felt like we kind of got a deal because we get our venue for a full weekend. We all get to sleep there. There's no transportation requirement. The whole event happens at one place, because a lot of other venues, you book $20,000 and then you have to get in at 11 a.m. and you have to leave at 11 p.m. and you have to get ready somewhere else, and there's buses for 4 days and 3 nights. That's more reasonable. Catering. We haven't gotten a final quote yet from catering since we put our head counts in, but catering is probably going to be around another $20,000 for family style dining, as well as open bar for 100 guests. Wedding coordination, $1,400. We only have a day of coordinator. I do not have a planner. Rentals. Our current quote for wedding rentals, that's forks, knives, plates, etc., is $7,200. I think it's going to decrease since our guest count decreased a little bit. And that includes fancy umbrellas, chandeliers, lighting designer, all of that. DJ. Our DJ is $2,800. It includes lighting for our dance floor, as well as like a light up DJ booth thing. We hired a magician for our cocktail hour. Magician was $2,000 for 1 hour. Photo video was a splurge. Our total photo video cost was $7,475. And no, we have not paid that yet. Florals, there's a whole separate video of the debacle with our florals, but in total, and we have paid this one, we spent on florals $7,744. Desserts, we're doing fresh fried mini donuts. There's a guy that's going to come in and fry mini donuts during our reception, which is so cool. And that, I believe, I don't have the contract yet, but I believe is around $1,200 to $1,400 for desserts. And that's just for the wedding to happen. That's not even the dress and the DIYs. My wedding dress, for transparency, was over $5,000. Told them my budget was $4,000, and then they put me in a $5,400 dress. And I love it. It's beautiful. And then alterations were another $1,200. Plus dance lessons. We've spent at least $600 on dance lessons for our first dance. All the DIY stuff was a couple $1,000s. I can do a whole separate video about all the DIYs that we did for the wedding. It's expensive. How did we pay for it? Credit card. It's been really stressful. And I don't think that anyone should ever feel pressured to do it. You know how much it costs to get married at the courthouse? $60.
Yeah, that just sounds stressful. Now we got another video. They're saying what they spent as well. Let's get in their pockets. Look, watch this.
How much does a wedding cost? Well, I'm here to tell you how much we spent on our 2026 wedding. I want to preface this with saying I am so grateful that we were able to make my vision come to life, and I know that this is not a normal amount of money to spend on a wedding, and no matter how much money you spend on your wedding, it will be beautiful. So let's get into it. First off, we had a string trio, and they were $1,802. The shuttle for our guests was $2,598. Invites and save the dates were $2,900. Our DJ was $4,608. He played our cocktail hour till 12 o'clock at night. To feed 240 people a meal and appetizers, it was $7,884, which I thought was pretty good. For content, we paid $8,978. That got us 2 videographers, 2 photographers, and 1 content creator. We got lucky there because we had a lot of friends help us out, and they didn't charge us as much as they should have. Our flowers were $9,087, and this one is the worst. My dress was $10,500. I don't want to talk about that one. We had an open bar, which totaled out to around $12,000. Our wedding planner, who was also our designer, so this counts for all of the decorations and furniture as well, was $19,840, and that, I will tell you, was so worth it. Our venue and lodging was $20,185. That included us staying on property from Thursday to Sunday morning, and the most beautiful wedding venue in all of Iowa. There's a ton of other little things that I didn't include in here that probably add up to around $7,000. So our grand total was $107,382. So I'm gonna go throw up now.
$107,000. Y'all better stay together. You better not even look at me with any type of animosity, any type of contempt. Girl, you better stay in line. Okay, you $107,000. Girl, you better love me. Okay, when I come in the house, you better give me a hug, and I better do everything that I'm doing to you. You doing I want from you. I better do it to you too. We better love. We better kiss and hug. We better squeeze each other till some blood come out. Okay, because that's a lot of money. You better not even mouth the word divorce. I don't even want to hear you say anything with a D in it. Don't say anything with a D. Okay, but I got something you can say with the word D, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now. But speaking of divorce, okay. You don't want to have one of those. If you want to see people that's going through that nonsense and that madness, unfortunately, click right here. This shot talk to him, boy. And I just talk to you, boy. I'm out. Peace.